Everyone, it's Nikki.
I'm Nat, and we welcome you to our podcast, Student Shenanigans with Nikki and Nat.
We're Year 13 students attending sixth form in the UK, so we definitely know both the challenges and the triumphs of being a student.
Join us on our journey as we navigate the waters, make a few mistakes, and most importantly, memories. So, for today's episode, it's called A Student's POV, and we'll be discussing our experiences at a state and grammar school, how COVID impacted our exams, and we'll be talking about our subjects in a bit more detail and what we did to help our grades and just teach ourselves.
Yeah.
So, I think I briefly mentioned before in a different episode, but I moved from a state school to a grammar school for sixth form, and they are quite different.
So, were the differences big? Was it a big change going from a state school to a grammar school?
I think there definitely was a change. I don't want to paint either school in a negative light because I do think my overall experience has been positive. But at a grammar school, there is definitely more competition, and with more competition comes more pressure because the environment is more serious because students are a lot more studious and they want to do well. They aspire to go to good unis. I mean, we're applying for all our UCAS applications now, and hearing all the universities people are applying to is actually really inspiring because it shows that they care about their education. They actually want to do something impactful. But sometimes I can find it hard to relate to them because I am a new student. But over time you get used to it and you make more friends and you just see things in a different point of view. And being a new student, there definitely was a slight divide, but again, that's quite normal when you move to a new school. And the only way you can really overcome that is by getting familiar with the environment, talking to different people, different friends. But yeah, overall, at grammar schools, people genuinely want to do well. Again, that environment is present at most sixth forms. I think it's a little bit more intense at grammar schools.
A little bit.
But yeah, lovely school. And I prefer this environment, but there is quite a little bit of pressure.
Yeah, I mean, it does sound like a great school, apart from the pressure, of course, but then I feel like that comes with every sixth form, but obviously at grammar school it will be a little bit more full on. But yeah, from what you've told me, definitely, I'm a little jealous of your school.
Thank you. It is a really nice school. I'll give them that.
Yeah. But yeah, I always wondered with grammar schools how they differ. So, do they follow the curriculum like everyone else does? And are the teachers more concerned with grades or your personal health and stuff? And, what kind of extra help is offered there?
So about curriculums, they're exactly the same as they would be at any other secondary school or any other sixth form. If your question asked me, are teachers more concerned with grades? I'd say yes, but I feel like they're more concerned with if you're fulfilling your potential because they know our capabilities and our aspirations. So I feel like they're more focused on encouraging us to do well and get those grades rather than being like, you need to get these grades. And, I feel like the focus is more on pushing us to do better. And yeah, they do offer lots of extra help there. After school help sessions, you can go at lunchtime, yeah.
That's good. Yeah, I know at our school there's lots of extra help sessions offered, although they're not as consistent as they could be, I will say. But, whenever you can, just go find your teachers and literally tell them to help you, because that's what they're there for. But yeah, my school that I currently go to, I did notice that it was still quite a big change going from such a small school, because our secondary school was tiny, and the school I go to now is quite big. Still not as big as some schools though. Like some of my classmates have said that they moved from a big school to a smaller school, which I just find crazy. But yeah, the people are very nice, and the school itself is very nice. But yeah, it's a nice school. And
I think I like having a small school because I was able to name different students in the years above me and below me, but I don't think I could do that now.
no,
That might be because I am a newer student, but I think having a smaller school is just more cozy feeling in a warmer environment.
Yeah, definitely. So COVID ended up hitting the UK in March, which was around the times that most of us were preparing for our GCSEs.
I remember I'd literally panic every night about revision and how the deadlines for exams were coming closer, only for them to be cancelled. So how did you react when they were cancelled?
At first, I was quite annoyed and I panicked, probably like everybody else did. But then the feeling that we didn't have exams and, remembering how stressed I was, like, for our GCSEs, I guess I kind of relaxed. It was like a huge weight off my shoulders. But yeah, it was a lot of mixed feelings to begin with. It was kind of like, what's going to happen with our grades? How are they going to decide them?
Yeah, personally, I was relieved at first, but that only lasted a while because we didn't know how we'd be graded, and it was also confusing because we couldn't really contact our teachers about it because they were already under a lot of pressure.
Yeah. About what you said about being relieved at first, that's kind of funny because I felt like for us it was kind of the opposite way around. Like I panicked and then I was relieved. So that's quite
Hmm.
interesting.
Yeah,
But yeah, I mean, I feel like some confirmation would have been good at like
yeah.
any point during that first lockdown.
Yeah, we were definitely opposite because after that initial relief wore off, I was kind of upset because I felt like I'd done all of this studying and hard work and like tutoring since year nine for them to only be cancelled, and I felt like my work had gone to waste. And although my feelings were valid, they definitely did not go to waste because I did end up with really good GCSE grades that I did work hard for, and but yeah, I think I was upset because taking my exams would have felt like a sort of closure for me, if that makes sense. I don't think we really had that for year 11.
No, we didn't really have that closure at all. But like about what you said about your work going to waste, I feel like even though we didn't do our exams, we still learn a lot of valuable skills, which obviously we didn't think at the time. But
Yeah.
yeah, I feel like it's good for everyday life if we like even if not for exams. But yeah.
And then results day wasn't even that exciting because I couldn't go in person to get my results. But luckily, my friend was kind enough to collect them for me. They were meant to be emailed to me, but they were emailed a little bit later than I expected. And so my sixth form application for my current school was nearly late. It wasn't, but it nearly was. That was definitely, quite a scary experience.
Yeah, I can imagine. Um, but yeah, with results day, I wasn't actually there in person either, but for different reasons to COVID. So my parents actually went and collected them for me, and they FaceTimed me while they were opening my results as I was in Poland at the time. However, all safe, don't worry, like COVID restrictions were followed. But yeah, luckily everything ended up working out okay.
Yeah, things worked out in the end, and we are very grateful. So, if you guys are in a similar situation, the same boat, things will work out in the end, and just try not to panic and overthink too much.
Yeah. So now we'll be talking about subjects and what to expect, modules and topics we cover, and how to do well in them. We mentioned this in a previous episode, but it might be useful for those going into sixth form to get better detail.
So, like we mentioned before, Nikki and I both take biology and psychology, and then I take geography for my third subject, while she takes PE and core maths.
Yeah. So let's start talking about biology first.
Biology, such a fun subject. No, genuinely, biology is one of my favorite subjects. I love just learning about the human body and plants, and I love the practical aspects. So our practical, I don't know what you call them, but we call them PAGs,
Yeah, us too.
like the practicals, yeah. So biology is super content heavy. That is the main thing most students will say. The
Mhm.
biology checkbook, if you hold them, it's a bit of an arm workout. Definitely recommend getting the online versions just to save yourself from, that strain carrying it every day. But yeah,
Yeah.
content heavy, and it's broken up into 6 modules, and there are several sections within those modules. So in year 12, you will cover modules 1 to 4, and then in year 13, you will cover modules 5 to 6, which may sound like not a lot compared to year 1, but it's a lot.
Yeah.
Trust me, it's a lot. So be prepared to be taking lots of notes and doing plenty of practice papers and questions.
Yes, definitely. And what you said about it being content heavy, um, the funny thing is, before I got the online version of the revision guide, this may have been coincidence, but I'm not kidding you, 2 of my school bags broke. from carrying biology textbooks. It's
That
ridiculous.
isn't a sign. I don't know what it is. Like,
Yeah,
please
honestly.
get the online version.
Get
Like,
the
it will
online
literally save your arms and shoulders.
It really will.
And back.
And backs, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, biology, it is really fun. And yeah, I have actually quite enjoyed it, apart from, the tougher questions when you just do not know what to do, but it all works out in the end. Like, once you understand it, it's okay. But yeah, we both also take psychology. The things you cover in year 12, everyone doing psychology will cover. You cover things like memory, attachments, social influence, approaches, and biopsych. However, in year 13, there are a range of options for you to take. So my school is doing gender, schizophrenia, and aggression, along with research methods. But yeah, psychology, once you get into the flow of things, it's also a nice subject, very interesting subject. Not as content heavy, thank goodness. But yeah, what about your school?
So yeah, we obviously cover the same subjects in year 12. However, my school for year 13, we're covering schizophrenia, relationships, and forensic psychology, which I'm actually very excited about, because before I wanted to become a child nurse, which we'll talk about in another episode, I wanted to study forensic psychology. I'm really glad we're doing it anyway, because I'd like that extra insight. But yeah, psychology, it's not as content heavy as biology, but you need to learn evaluations, which is something I've never had to learn for other subjects before, like just learning evaluations. So I actually really appreciate that skill. Something new I've learned. Psychology, I did not do at GCSE. Nikki did not either. It was not an option at our secondary schools. But don't panic, because most people are in the same boat as you. Most people do not do psychology at GCSE, so don't worry about not having that advantage, because everyone is in the same boat most of the time. And over time, you will grasp those concepts pretty quick. You'll be surprised with what you can do. You always know more than you think. And a lot of people will ask me if I can diagnose them with things or read people's minds. Reminder, I'm sorry guys, your local psychology students cannot diagnose you with things. They are not therapists, they are not licensed. We can't read minds because we don't study anything like that. In reality, we study things that actually relate to real life and that can be applied. So biopsych, memory, social influence, things like that. So the last subject I take is geography. Geography, I think, is quite different to GCSE. At GCSE, it's not as content heavy, or there are, the questions are shorter. But at A level, it's more content heavy. It's obviously an essay-based subject. My number one tip is that to be successful in geography, you need to understand the theories and concepts. If you don't understand the theories and concepts, you will struggle to answer the questions. So one tip to help you understand is make mind maps. Keep up with the news, keep up with what's going on in the world, whether that be listening to the radio, watching the news, listening to the podcast. Or it can be as simple as just following accounts on Instagram that keep you updated about current affairs, global warming, things like that. So yeah, geography is an essay-based subject, lots of theories, lots of concepts, lots of long questions, and the only way to get good at that is by practicing. So yeah, what about you, Nikki? What's your last subject?
So I took P as my last subject, which I was interested in when I went from GCSE to A-level to see how it would differ. But luckily it ties in really well with biology and psychology. So I was quite lucky in that sense that they, all my subjects correspond, so when you were revising one thing, you could even be revisiting something in the other subject, which is great. So yeah, it wasn't as difficult as I thought. And as I said, if you do biology, PE will seem easy when you do the energy systems, because you cover that in biology when you cover the respiration topics. So it's just like biology, but much less detail. And with sports psychology as well, if you do psychology, this will also be a breeze because you've already covered all of the concepts in psychology. So yeah, as I said, the subjects link really well. And apart from what I think most students will agree is the boring part, is sport and society, history and sport, because it's very mundane, and even your teachers will tell you that they don't know why you have to know it, but you do. So you just kind of have to get through that bit. But apart from that, it's all very good. And then you also have the fun sport aspect, which is your practical, which you do need to get video evidence for. But I'm quite annoyed by this, mostly due to COVID restrictions and the fact that the higher ranking you are, the higher grade you'll get. So, for example, if you compete in national sport, you'll get a higher grade than competing at club level, which is really irritating for me because my highest competition I did was at counties, and I won those counties, and I can't use that footage because it wasn't recorded during year 12, and the counties during year 12 I couldn't attend because of COVID, so I had to record a training. So we'll see how that goes, but obviously the exam board will be more lenient this year, we hope. But yeah, I definitely recommend doing this if you like sport and you want to keep doing it during your A-levels.
Yeah, COVID definitely has impacted our coursework and our subjects in different ways. But like, I'm glad we have some, like similarities in it, and I appreciate that vulnerability because at the end of the day, it is annoying how our exams have been impacted. But what's important is that we're keeping people safe.
Yes,
saving
definitely.
Lives, protecting the NHS, things like that. So our last section is we're going to be discussing what we did to improve our grades. So our number one tip is past papers, past questions, and just practicing.
Yeah.
Guys, I cannot stress this enough. Past papers will be your best friend. I remember at GCSE, I don't think I ever did a past paper outside of school unless it was for maths with my tutor. Like, yeah, I did a few past questions, but like I never had the courage to do a past paper by myself because I was scared. In all honesty, I was scared of getting it wrong. I was scared of how little knowledge I might have, which is definitely not true. And I was just scared, and I don't know why, because they're a great indicator of what you understand and what you don't understand, and they really help you to understand the mark scheme, what the examiners want. So for A-level, practice papers are literally the biggest revision tool Nikki and I use.
Yeah.
When we both started revising together in our sessions, we would go through past papers together, and we got better at not only learning the structure, but the mark schemes and what the examiners want us to say. And we know that mark schemes can be picky. Because in biology, you've got to learn the specific wording they want, such as specific complementary shape in enzymes, things like that. You have to be specific.
Yeah.
So past papers will be your best friend. Do them. I promise you guys, it's not as scary as it might feel at first.
Definitely.
Practice makes perfect, and perfect. Practice makes perfect, and you know more than anything.
Definitely, yeah. I mean, it's understandable that you'd feel... I mean, I felt scared as well. I don't think I ever did a past paper before A-levels, which is really bad. But it's understandable to feel scared when doing a past paper, because it is an exam. So yeah, but honestly, the questions, if you familiarise yourself with how they work, then it will be so much easier. But we also highly recommend studying with someone. Doesn't have to be a close friend because, you'll get nothing done. But work with someone that has the same goals, same aspirations as you, and just the desire to do well. Because if you work with someone who's just not motivated to do well, then that will reflect on you, and you'll come to adapt their attitude to the subject, and you will also not do well. But if you work with someone who's equally motivated as you are, then your grades, they will go up massively. So yeah, me and Nat, we're very lucky to have a good balance and good chemistry, which allow us to work well together. And I think we do work well together. We have the occasional chit chat, but I think we are quite productive most of the time.
Yeah, I definitely look forward to our study session together, and I think we do maintain a good balance of having, in-depth conversations between each other, which helps us to connect, and then also studying and helping each other with, our subjects. Yeah, I think balance is important, and it's great to have someone that has similar aspirations to you. Me and Nikki are very lucky that we both do biology, we both do psychology, same exam boards, and we both want to do child nursing, which we will discuss in another episode. And that leads us to the end of the episode.
So yeah, that's all we have time for today, guys. We hope you enjoyed it as much as we did producing this episode.
Me and Nikki are still new to this, so thank you so much for your patience as we try to navigate through things.
If you guys have any comments or questions, feel free to DM us on Instagram at student_shenanigans. We are open to any comments.
I guess that's it for this episode, and we hope you join us in episode 3.